Now, people talk about Black Statue of Liberty, but this picture comes from the Charlesburg Library. From out of the Charlesburg Library. This is one of the, this is not the only one, there's others. But this is one of the early drafts. And the draft means that the artist, the sculptor who conceptualized the Statue of Liberty, this is kind of like what he had in mind before he ran up against some resistance. So when he came and presented it to the U.S., to the United States, they said, nah, you're stepping on our toes now. You're talking about, because if you look closely at the picture, she has shackles, on her feet, So they were saying, well, look, this is a symbol of freedom and liberty and so on and so forth, but it was an embarrassment to the United States. So that's why they kind of like gave it a thumbs down. That's why the statue as you see today don't look nothing like this. Or the other one, there's another statue, and there's even stories about how the guy who designed it, his name is in here, how he was influenced by the ancient Egyptian monuments. See, we don't hear that stuff, In ancient Egypt, for those of you who may not know, when you check the history and look at those statues, it looked like me and you. The noses on some of those monuments, and that's why, during the time of Napoleon and this other guy, Lord Kitchener, when they had their campaigns down in Egypt, fighting in this guy, the Mahdi, who was trying to keep the British from coming into Africa, they was taking target practice at a lot of those statues, blowing off the features. Again, deliberate destruction, desecration of our history, but it's in us. So, that's just some of the stuff, and I could go on and on. One last thing, or two last things, is this woman, you've heard of Madam C.J. Walker, but a lot of folks haven't heard of this other woman, because we speak about economic empowerment. It's Maggie L. Walker. No direct relationship. Somebody said yes, so somebody did. Maggie L. Walker. She's the first African-American woman to start a bank and was the first bank president. She started the penny saving banks. She said, you don't have to have a whole dollar. You don't have to have a couple dollars. You just have to have a penny or nickels, And she said, we're going to save our pennies and our nickels. She was from Richmond, Virginia. I had a chance to visit the home that she lived in, which is now what they call a historic district. It's a mansion. A 30-room mansion with an elevator that was built during her time, was like in 1915, is amazing. But the amazing thing about her is that they were able to buy up all that property in that area, through that penny savings bank. So hint, penny, so how they say our ancestors, they still live and speak to us. We have to learn from the lessons of the past and the lessons that are still with us now, So a lot of times, Black Solidarity Day and stuff like that, you hear about like spend black and don't buy in. I know it's challenging at times, but a lot of times we have to make a conscious effort to support folks that look like us. Because here's the thing, to show how deep this thing runs, you could go into a Korean neighborhood, a Chinese neighborhood, you won't see a soul food joint. You won't see no soul food in a Korean neighborhood. You won't see a Korean go into like a soul food store and say, look, I want to order a ribs, or whatever, or give me some of them greens and it's just not going to happen because there's a psychology, something happened. Something happened to us. Really. You go into an Italian community, you don't see black-owned stores, But you come into our community, everybody is there. Everybody is there, and they don't even live there, but they're there. But why is that? Why is that? So it's something, so to break that spell, to break that, dynamic, that's why it's so important that we know our story, know our history, know who we are, And then one of the things I like to ask, and put out is like, how do you know what you know and who told you that? How do you know what you know and who told you that? Because I don't know how many of you saw that story in the Daily News recently about that school in Queens where them youngsters, they wanted to do a report on Malcolm X, and their teacher told them, no, you can't, because what? They said he was supposed to be too violent and bad. Now that's scary. That's scary because now that's public. So, but just imagine how often that happens. Because people, they bring their beliefs, they bring their outlooks, their perspectives into the classroom with them. They'll say one thing in front of us, but you can't hide what you really believe. And the thing is like a lot of folks, they don't see us. They really don't see us. And when they look at us, they will prefer to see us one way. They can't see the beauty, the diversity, just how, But here's the thing, so I don't know if it was a black teacher or a white teacher who told them they couldn't, because my experience is I've had some black teachers. Now I'm going to step on some toes now. They're not really comfortable. They say, I had teachers like, puzzles for us? What you mean puzzles for us? It's like how are we going to have something just for us? I said, well, look, I didn't say it was just for us. I just said it's puzzles for us. I said, because when you sit down, because see, it's implied, implicit in everything else is white, and then there's everything else. They don't have to say white history, because that's kind of like understood. If I pick up a book, automatically, I'm not thinking, okay, is this a white order? It's kind of like understood, it's implied. If I'm doing a crossword puzzle in the New York Times or the Daily News, it's implied, that this is like white history. They don't even have to say it because it's just built into the fabric of society. That's why late Dr. Henry Clark, our esteemed professor, he used to always say that what we refer to as black history is really the missing pages of world history. I'm going to say that again. What we refer to as black history is really the missing pages of world history. Yes. Yes. But then the question becomes, if it's missing, then why are the pages missing? And then who was telling the story, and then who left it out? Right. And why? So we have to fill in the pieces, so we have our work cut out for us, so don't be afraid, no matter where you at in your life, you have something to offer, you have something to share, you have a story to tell. So the thing is, tell your story. Tell your story. Before you leave this planet to go to wherever we go when we leave this plane, tell your story, because somebody's going to benefit from hearing your story. Tell your story. We need to know the story. And the other thing, like that Malcolm X thing, it happened to me. When I was first starting out doing this series, the Department of Education has a review committee. They review the material that's coming in, call it screening, call it censoring, whatever. I got a call. There was a young woman on the committee. She called me. I can't remember her name. She said, you know what? They were trying to knock down, actually it was which book? It was this book, In Search of Yourself. I have two puzzles in here called From the X-Files. And it's quotes from Malcolm X, where he's speaking about reparations. He's speaking about a bunch of stuff. But he's not speaking about killing white folks. He's not speaking about, anything. He's just speaking about, okay, real stuff. I got the call from a young woman. She said, you know what, they may not, approve the book. I said, why? They said, because they saw Malcolm X's name in the book. Not that they read anything about him, but they just saw his name. When they saw his name, they said, no, we don't think this would be appropriate and this and that. And so I had my own experience. But luckily for her, she said, but you know what? I'm not going to let them do that. She said, I'm going to make sure that this book get approved. And so, that's why it's just so important that, wherever we at, whatever capacity we work in, however we serve, we have to stand up and tell our story, and live with integrity. Yes. Live with integrity. Yes. Don't be afraid, and don't feel that others have something that we don't. Yes. We the one, we set the standard. Mm-hmm. We can go back. There's a lot of firsts, things. When you think about history, think about it like this. Why would somebody go through all that trouble to tell you that you don't have no story or no history? If you really, because if you don't, then I'll have to waste my time, because you ain't got no history. So I ain't got to be bothered with you. So why would I go out of my way to make you look small or try to make you think your history just began in maybe 1619 or 1492 or whatever? Why? So there's a lot going on. So know your story. And so with the Puzzles for a Series, that's just one way for us to know our stories. What the gentleman did with the Golden Legacy series, that's just another way. What you're doing by sharing your story, that's another way. So we all do our part, to tell our story, to put the pieces back together. Because we definitely have a rich history, and I don't see where my hair care from? Where my Madam CJ stuff? Oh, okay, I'm just checking. Just checking, make sure, you're okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much, what I wanted to share for today. We have there's a lot of resources. I have some jigsaw puzzles over here. We have some posters and stuff, so feel free to come over. Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes. Oh, okay. Let me just check. Okay, I don't see no finger,
wanted to dip. I had to hold
Yeah,
myself
yeah.
back.
Well, you know what? You could go. The website is if you want to take down the information, is www.madamwalker.net. Madamwalker.net. So you can leave my formula alone. 'Cause I need this for my presentation. So like, yeah, madamwalker.net. Yeah, you know. So yeah, that's it. And then pick up, you know, some of these. If you get a chance, pick Before They Die. Excellent story. There's some other. You know, there's one about the African burial grounds by gentleman Eric Tate. Some of you may be familiar. Is Then I'll Be Free to Travel Home. It's narrated by Lena Horne, Miss Lena Horne of Stormy Weather fame. You know, she does an excellent job of narrating the story. It's an amazing story because it talks about Seneca Village, where Central Park is at now. Like how we were there. You talk about gentrification. We were there. You know, in that whole area. You know. The 5 Points down by Wall Street, you know, actually which is where tap dancing began. There's a guy named Master Juber, you know, have you ever seen the movie Gangs of New York? I mean, yes. You know, okay, that area of New York, I mean, we were there. The African free schools were down that area. You know, I mean, so, I mean, there's a lot of history. Another one, not in bars, no, they're online on Amazon.com. Okay, but you could get them online, or you get them on my website. So. Sure. Okay. Yes. Any questions? I mean, it's www.puzzlesforus.com, and actually I could give you. I'll pass out some of these. Excuse me. Yeah. Puzzles Taisha. You could give out some. Yeah. It's a young woman. She's going to come around and give you the information. The PUZZLESFOR. us.us.com. Puzzlesforus.com.